Good evening and welcome to Winchester Writers. And tonight we have Kate Genouese with us. She is an author of 3 novels. And good evening, Kate. Thank
Hi,
you for
Jean.
joining
Thanks
us.
for having me here tonight.
You're welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Before I get into the writing aspect, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. I'm married and I live in Woburn. I have 3 grown children. I'm a registered nurse. I worked at Leahy Clinic for a good 19 years, then went on to being a school nurse for 5 years, a visiting nurse, where I'm at now, right now in Malden at Hallmark Health in the office in management.
And so you've been in nursing for a number of years.
I have,
Right.
37 years, actually.
When did you, or how and when did you begin writing? What gave you the bug?
Well, let me really back way up to my childhood. My dad was very academic. He really wanted us, and my mother too. They were both library trustees in Watertown, where I grew up, and they were very into reading. So as early as I can remember, we would have to go to the library. And I say we because I come from a family of 7, so there was always a brother or sister with me. And we had to pick out a couple of books. And after that, we had to give book reports, either acting them out, acting the characters out. It was hysterical, which I did several times when I was 7 or 8, or write book reports, but it was mandatory in my house. So I had a love of writing and reading at a very early age. Favorite book, Gone with the Wind.
Didn't get into theater though.
So after that, in 1995, the most recent, I was going through a personal time in my life. And it was an issue involving my family of origin and my kids. So I sought counseling, and the counselor suggested that I journal. She said, if you journal, it really helps in the healing process. You probably know that writing things down really helps you move on from the situation. So that's what I did, but I turned my journaling into a book, and it's called A Silence So Still. And it's the story of the event. And it was difficult to write, but I wrote it, and it's sitting in my bottom drawer.
And have you shared that with anyone?
You know, I shared it with some friends from high school since grade school, people I knew since kindergarten even, and they read it. But other than that, no, it was more for a healing purpose. But what happened is I got this urge to write. I got this passion, like, oh my gosh, I really want to get published. So
Not with that book.
No, that book is, as far as I'm concerned, was for my purpose, and it sits in my bottom drawer. Whatever my kids do with it, once I'm gone, it's up to them. Something may happen.
Well, tonight we'll be focusing on your 3rd novel, 2 Weeks Since My Last Confession. But you did write 2 previous books. You wrote
I did.
30 Years in September, A Nurse's Journal, and you also wrote Loving Joe Gallucci. And can you tell us a little bit about those 2 books?
Sure. My first book, 30 Years in September, A Nurse's Memoir. You know, after like I said, I had written that first book, I was passionate, and I really didn't know what to write about. I was on the fence. I wanted to focus on issues. I love things that you can talk about, and medically focused in a way. And I had a patient, I was a visiting nurse at the time, and I had a patient, Joe Lombardo from Burlington, and he was the one who encouraged me to write the book, because I'd go into his house and he was getting depressed, and I'd tell him funny stories. And he literally just said, why don't you write these stories down? These are hysterical. For some reason, I had him laughing. But it was a few months after that I really got the bug to write seriously. And then I had to put it down for a while because my mom was sick. But what prompted me to really write it is when I went up her attic and found all my nursing notes from when I started school in 1969. I mean, you were, obviously alive back then, and in college probably, and
elementary school.
Lots of things were going on then, like the Vietnam War, moratoriums. Bobby Kennedy just died, Martin Luther King, and I knew I could incorporate our history and what was happening in the world into my nursing memoir, and that's what I did.
So this is really autobiographical.
It is, it is.
And then what about Loving Joe Gallucci?
That was interesting. After I finished 30 Years in September and promoted it and got it out there, it was, you know, I wanted to write something else and I wasn't quite sure what. And then all of a sudden, and this happens to me with writing, I wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, things come to me. So I said, Meg Flaherty. And Meg Flaherty is the main character in Loving Joe Gallucci. And I had gone to nursing school with her. And she had this tumultuous relationship with her husband. And I was very part of it, you know. They'd go back and forth and love and hate each other and always end up back together again. But he ended up with hepatitis C. And when I was at Leahy, that was the drug, the disease of the year, hepatitis C.
What year was this?
When I left Leahy, that was like 1998, 1999. So I knew it was in focus, like Alzheimer's was big in the 80s, and certain diseases, if you're a nurse, you know these things in medical profession. So I wanted to still medically focus on something, and that's when I thought of Meg. I said, oh my gosh, I could write this love story about her and her husband. And so that's what I did. I wrote this love story, but I also incorporated my life and my husband's life in it as well. So it's really the story of two couples, four people, all intertwined. Love story, family saga.
And it took off with the hepatitis B organizations and
Hepatitis C organization.
Hepatitis C, I'm sorry, right.
Yeah, it really did. It went through United States. You know, there's a lot of hepatitis C support groups throughout the United States. So it was really, I learned a lot.
Okay. Well, like I said, tonight we're going to focus on your third novel, 2 Weeks Since My Last Confession, and that is really an interesting title. And can you tell us where it came from?
Sure. Well, I grew up Catholic, and Irish, Scottish Catholic. And, you know, my mother was strict, not like particularly the mother in the book, Marie O'Brien, but she was strict enough that she made us go to confession every week. So I'd go a lot of times with my youngest sister, walk down to Our Lady Mercy's Church in Belmont where we went to Mass, and would go to confession weekly. But as you get older, are you Catholic?
Yes, I am.
So you must remember, as you get older.
I do actually know, 2 weeks since my last confession. I've said it many
times. Why am I going every week? There's nothing to tell. What sins were you committing particularly, other than fighting with your brothers and sisters? Plus, it was boring to go, and it was taking up my Saturday afternoon as I got older. So I convinced my mother that I could go every 2 weeks. And evidently every Catholic, every baby boomer in the world did that because everybody relates to the title, 2 weeks since my last confession. So you'd go into the confessional, for those that aren't Catholic and listening, you know, it's where you tell your sins. So you'd go into the confessional and say to the priest, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 2 weeks since my last confession, and here are my sins. And you'd tell, you know, what you did wrong in the last 2 weeks, and then he'd give you
3 Our
prayers
Fathers and your
to
3
say,
Hail Marys,
glory bees.
Yeah.
If you know, it was funny. Do you remember back in those days, if you were on the altar too long, people would say, oh, they really did something bad.
Right.
So it was really, it was kind of cool. So that's where the title comes from, that part of it.
Now, when does this story take place? What's the time frame
You know,
here?
it starts, the main character in 2 weeks since my last confession, one of the main characters is Molly O'Brien, and she's born in 1951, and so it ends in 1985, so there's a few decades there.
Okay. As you said, the main character is Molly O'Brien. Can you tell us about her? What is her story?
Yeah, well, without giving away the book.
Right.
Well, you know, there's 8 children. And, Molly's parents, Marie and John O'Brien, had kids late in life. They were the part of the Depression. And so they had 4 kids in their 30s and 4 in their 40s. But Marie O'Brien had already had 6 kids. The last thing she wanted to do was have another one. So she had gone to the priest and said, Father, I really don't want to get pregnant again. Is there, can I use some birth control? And he lambasted her. Absolutely not. You should be glad that you're being given children and not.
This is the beginning of the 50s.
Yeah,
right,
not
right.
any taken away. So she's full of guilt, but yet she's feeling like, I can't do this. I am really tired. She had the last, almost the child before the last, she had twins, and one of them had cerebral palsy. So not only did she keep having kids, she had a disabled child that was very sick that she had to take care of. So the last thing she wanted to do was have a baby, and then Molly comes into the world. And during that time, her relationship with her husband isn't great. He moves on from being a mayor to a senator. He's not home that much. Then Molly comes along and looks like her in-laws that she doesn't like.
Yeah.
She's Scottish heritage. She calls her in-laws the Black Irish. She doesn't like them. And then here's Molly. Then Molly acts like them, according to her. She's always questioning. It says in the book she's 6 years old and she's already questioning the nuns. Like, what do you mean there's a supreme being? What are you talking about? I don't know what a supreme being is. And if you remember back then in catechism class, you couldn't question.
All right. You memorized.
You questioned, you
it.
memorized,
Yeah.
you believed, or you're going to go to hell. So Molly is totally into questioning, and she proceeds to do that right through grammar school, middle school. She rebels. She has older sisters. She has older brothers. So she's a little more advanced.
Is she the young? She's not the youngest in the family.
Erin is the youngest. She's the
right.
youngest in the family.
Right.
But Molly just happens to be the outrageous one, along with her brother Sean. He's a little out there as well, and we'll get to him in a while.
What is Molly's relationship with her mother and father, particularly with her mother, but with her parents?
Well, as I said, Molly's mother wasn't crazy about having her, and then she's always arguing with her and questioning and not really following the rules of a good Catholic girl. Like her mother keeps saying, why can't you just behave? Why can't you just do what you're told? And why can't you basically keep your mouth shut? But it's not happening that way. Molly's just that fiery Irish rebellious type who just wants to keep questioning.
Now, Molly's faith plays a huge role in this story and the choices that she makes. Let's see. I want to ask this without giving anything away, but she runs into a lot of. She makes a lot of bad choices.
Bad choices.
And
yeah. Well, she's pretty religious. Although she rebels, she has this love-hate relationship with the church. Later in the book, if you read it, and I know you did read it, and she's sitting in the church, and she wants the feeling back again of being a good Catholic, and she wants the walls of the church to hug her. Like she really felt that. And actually, when I was writing the book, I went and sat in a Catholic church, and I felt that myself because I had a lot of the same feelings. It was something warm, there was something familiar. You knew God was blessing you.
once you let that guilt go.
Once you let that guilt go, yeah.
Right. Does she lose her faith? Does she lose it?
She loses her faith. She does lose her faith because, there's some things that happened to her along the way as a child. There's some abuse that she doesn't get validation for. She has a long-time boyfriend in high school. She ends up getting pregnant. She prays desperately and decides she wants to keep it, and she wants to keep the child. And her parents are saying absolutely not. And she prays desperately because that's what she was taught in the church. If you pray, you get what you want. She prayed her heart out, and her parents made her give the child away. So at that point, 17 years old, Molly hated God, hated her parents, hated the establishment, and was angry at the Catholic Church. And she remained that way for a number of years because of her pain.
Sounds, thinking back on when I read the book, I remember the father kind of fluffing things off and the mother just not being there when Molly went to her.
Yeah,
and,
Molly went to her several times and would tell her what was happening and saying this or that person was touching me, and her mother reiterated over and over again, stop using your imagination. You're such a drama queen. Just stop it. She wasn't validated. The father did, to a point, but he got tired of it. Like, is she making it up? Maybe she's making things up. I mean, back in the 1950s, it's not like today, you know, where sexual abuse is really in the limelight. So she wasn't getting validated.
Right. So her parents really did not deal with those issues very well.
No, and you know, you can't really blame them particularly. It was the times. People were worried about what the next door neighbor was going to say, and they came from this political family. Mr. O'Brien was a senator. He didn't want anything out in the open that was going to cause him not to get reelected.
Right. Now, where
forbid.
does this take place?
It takes place in Cambridge.
Massachusetts.
Cambridge, Massachusetts. Yeah. Molly does travel. She does some traveling. She goes out west, Colorado and Seattle. And that's where writers write what they know. I lived in Colorado and Seattle, so I didn't have to do that much research. I knew what I was doing as I was writing. Yeah.
Now, besides her parents, what other characters play major roles in Molly's decisions, in her her upbringing and her life?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, besides her parents, who were extremely influential, she was afraid of her dad. And she, you know, as much as she rebelled against him, she was very fearful of him.
Pretty much sign of the times, though.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I know, I was afraid of my father.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendously. Loved him, but afraid of him. And her brother Sean, who is maybe the culprit of all her problems starting. You know, she has this volatile relationship with him, and although he's 8 years older than her, they're similar, but yet they have this hatred towards one another.
Now, Sean is older than Molly. What are some of his issues in this story?
Sean is, first of all, he is the twin of the brother that has cerebral palsy, so he has this guilt complex going on from birth. Like, what, I mean, now we know it today, why did I not be the one to have cerebral palsy?
Okay.
You know? Then he has issues of his own abuse. He pretends he loves the Catholic Church, and he fakes it, totally fakes it. He goes full circle, though, because he has this inner feeling that I want to get better. I don't want to be miserable my whole life. I want to get better.
And what's his relationship with the mother? As you said, he's older, so he was probably one of the first 6.
He asked his mother to death. When he was at UMass Amherst, "Are you going to church, Sean?" "Absolutely, Mom." He wasn't going to church.
No.
He hated the Catholic Church as much as Molly did. He was not going.
Okay. Well, you say this is a story of hope and healing and recovery. Does Molly, I know that she sinks into the depths, does she recover? Does she heal? Don't tell me the end. I know the end, but I would never read a book if I knew the end. So.
Molly it's a good ending. She goes through quite a bit. She almost doesn't get better. It's like the book Basketball Diaries. Did you ever read that? It's actually turned into a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he gets, he's a basketball player in a Catholic school, gets involved in drugs, and he can't seem to get better. And he only gets better because he gets sent to jail, and that's where he writes the story, Basketball Diaries. So Molly's character is similar to his, but she improves. She does get better. She goes full circle with her faith.
Now, there's a boyfriend in this, not the father of her child, but there is a new
Yes,
boyfriend.
Yeah, the boy she married, the guy she married, Tim.
Marries.
Yeah,
Okay,
he goes
and
through a lot with her. He's the
yeah.
classic enabler.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, he is. But he loves her. He leaves her, and they separate for quite a long time.
Now, where are your books available, Kate?
You can get them online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, online, bookstores. If there may be some right here at Bookends.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not, you can order them. And I also have some. You can get them off my website, which is my name, www.kate, Genouese, GENOVESE.com.
Okay.
And you can email me, and I can get them to you as well.
And you can order them through a library too, can't
Oh,
you?
yes,
Yeah.
the library.
Yeah.
If you have difficulty financially, go to the library, and they will get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you have a library card.
Now,
Sign up more.
Sign up, right. Do you have anything else in the works?
I do. I am writing a book. I'm in the process. I'm maybe 3/4 of the way through. It's another family saga. The title of it is April Showers, and it's about a couple in their 40s, and she suddenly dies of colon cancer. But that's the very beginning, and it goes back to when they met. And it's a real baby boomer book. It goes back to when they met and their whole courtship, relationship. They have these 3 kids, and Max, one of the main characters, the father of the kids, and the husband, whose wife died, and he just can't believe she's dead and has left him with these 3 dysfunctional teenage kids.
No reflection on your family.
None. Oh, no. It's absolutely nothing to do with my family.
So this
I know,
is purely
I get
fiction.
that questions a lot because
Yeah.
people say, well, of course, my nurse's memoir was
Right.
me,
Right.
and Loving Joe Gallucci was somewhat me.
Right.
This book, 2 weeks since my last confession, is fiction, although I can relate to some of the subject matters in it.
I
Yeah.
do have to say, reading Loving Joe Gallucci, I heard your voice telling me the story.
Oh.
So it was just, like having you tell me instead of reading
Yeah.
it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, writing is a wonderful thing.
Now, where do you get your ideas for these great stories?
I think it's just part of who I am. My mother was a storyteller. She would sit and tell the neighborhood kids stories. They'd gather. There'd be, dozens of kids in our house when we were little, and they'd all sit around. Is your mother telling a story today? And she'd sit around talking. And I think I inherited her imagination, to be honest with you, because sometimes I wonder how I come up with some of the things I come up with.
Yeah.
And I have a notebook right next to me in the bed, so if I wake up in the middle of the night, I can jot things down.
I know that's what a lot of people say, you should keep a notebook with you all the time. I've tried that myself, but generally lose it.
Well, that's why you write it immediately.
Yeah.
And I've always written longhand. I don't go on the computer and type it out until I have the first draft down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do several drafts. As I did in this book, it took me forever to write this.
Oh, you do have to
It took
write
me a
and
good 7
rewrite.
years to write that book.
Really?
2 weeks since my last confession.
Now,
yeah.
when was this one published? This came out.
Well, this initially came out in 2000, the end of 2007, and came out actually in 2008. I had trouble with the publisher, but
Right.
I had to switch publishers, so that's another story.
Okay.
But you also are a publisher, Jean.
Well, I published a book.
Yeah.
I didn't publish it, but
Yeah.
yes, I
You're
did have a book published, yeah. And it's called Katie Pond,
Right.
And
where do you get your book?
Bookends has it. You can get it on Amazon. You can actually get it through me. Or you can get it through Sonrel Press, which is the publishing company that
And
I
that's
went
in
through.
Woburn?
That's in Woburn. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's
That was a
children's
delightful book, and it's all around Katie's Pond.
It's all about Horn Pond in Woburn.
Yeah, Horn Pond.
And it was a lot of fun to write. I had taken a little time off from teaching and studied natural resource management, so it just was kind of a natural slide into writing that book. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, just walking the pond. I had an acquaintance that did the pictures for me, watercolor washes for me. So it's beautiful. It's about a little girl that takes a walk around the pond with her classroom.
Awesome.
As I often did with my students. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you can share with us about your stories? I know you and I have talked many times about even collaborating, and we've talked about lobster rolls and maybe writing, searching for the perfect lobster roll.
Yes, that would be a great
Something
book.
like that. It would be fun.
Yeah.
It would be fun to do.
Yeah, no, I think the writing process, I've learned a lot. I've come a long way since this all happened in 1995, and it's amazing the people I've met along the way, the different avenues I've taken because of being a writer, and the wonderful, wonderful events that have happened in my life because of this. A whole other road I took other than nursing, although I'm still nursing.
I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed your books. This was such a wonderful story, It was, and it was uplifting.
Thank you.
You know.
I mean, it's a good book. It's not just for baby boomers, but
I want
it
to
has an
thank you.
audience.
Thank you so much
thank
for
you,
coming
Jean.
tonight. It was fun talking to you on television, and I want to thank our audience for tuning in and enjoying Kate Genouese.
Thanks, Jean.
Mhm.